The Potato Eaters by Vincent van Gogh. Information. Artist Vincent van Gogh. Title The Potato Eaters. Date completed approximately spring of 1855. Medium oil on canvas. Dimensions 2 foot 8 inches by 3 foot 9 inches. Here's the piece. Are you sure this is by Gogh? Yes. It is probably odd seeing these dark earthy tones when we are used to seeing his vibrant pieces, but this is in fact his.
We're in the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, and we're looking at The Potato Eaters. This is the first really ambitious painting that Van Gogh made.
And it's so different than what we normally expect of Van Gogh, where we expect a landscape. Here we have a figure painting, and we also expect brighter colors. And here we have a painting that's intentionally dark.
Look at how narrow the tonal range is. You've got these cool gray, green blues, and then only the palest light coming from that lantern warming the faces of these peasants. This is 1885. It's more than a decade after the first Impressionist exhibition, so brilliant colors are nothing new.
That's true, but he's really hooked into, instead, a tradition of peasant painting, and we might think about earlier Dutch artists like Israels or...
Chapter 25. In Chapter 25, we learned about realism. Realism was the first modern movement in art that came about in 1840 and lasted until the late 19th century. The rebels created depictions of modern life instead of the normal paintings of history and fantasy. The paintings were almost like photographs due to their natural and detailed feel. Chapter 25's relation. The Potato Eaters was a piece that is said to be of the realism and modern art movements. Since realism is considered to be the start of modern art, I can see the correlation. However, I feel that the realism period describes it far better. In the piece, you will notice how Gogh was trying to depict how people lived and what was going on in their lives. This is a prime example of realism. Plus, when you think of modern art, you normally associate it with vibrant colors and shapes. Those factors aren't really shown in the piece, but I chose this chapter due to the art movement connection. Gogh may be known for his post-impressionism art, but he still participated in other movements. Content. Within this piece, we see people surrounding what seems to be a kitchen table. The people themselves look miserable while eating their dinner. We know that it is dinner time from the clock showing 7 o'clock in the far left corner. There is also a dim light above the table that struggles to illuminate the room. The room is small with few items among it. Shifting our attention back to the people, you will notice their fragile hands and old clothing. We can guess that they are peasants. The lady on the right is pouring some sort of refreshment into each cup. To her right is someone offering her a potato. Overall, Gogh's brushstrokes are thick and sloppy in some areas, with the use of more natural colors. Context. Gogh's work was made to express how peasants lived in real life. This was done by different aspects in the piece. The use of dim colors and light gives off a depressing feeling. The peasants' hands makes the viewer aware of malnourishment. The lack of decoration, the small table, and their old clothes show that they weren't living lavish. Their faces show the unhappiness they feel. Their lives were different than the others because they had to work hard and grow their own food to live. And of course, their meal shown is only potatoes and coffee. That was probably all they had available to eat. The actual subjects of the piece were the degroots. Apparently, Gogh picked them because they weren't very attractive, making it feel more natural. Gogh wanted this piece to be as real as possible despite his lack of experience with painting figures. The bodies of the people were not completely proportionate. It is said that Gogh struggled a fair amount with this. Luckily, the disproportion wasn't too noticeable and sort of adds to the depressing effect he wanted to achieve. Design principles. The Potato Eaters consist of several different design principles. Scale is shown by the peasants being up close in the photo, showing importance, and the back of the room behind them, less important. There is also a visual hierarchy in the piece because you know where the main focus is and where to look. Balance was also shown by the proportion of the objects. Even though Gogh had a hard time with it, I believe he still achieved decent proportions besides the faces. For example, the light fixture is a different size, the teapot is decently proportionate to the hand, and the bodies of the figures are proportionate or as proportionate as Gogh could get them. The last principle I will discuss is contrast. To our right, we can see contrast between the light and how it fades out into the darkness. The illusion of the rays surround the orange-yellow flame, so we know of its brightness. Process. Fascinated by the peasant life, Go wanted to make a piece about the peasants that was adored for its meaning and awareness. Go also wanted to prove his skills to the world around him. He went out and studied their hands, features, and much more. This was a popular subject to paint at the time, and he believed he was ready for the challenge. Inspiration came from Charles de Groot's piece, The Blessing Before Supper. It took him months just to figure out how to paint the heads. He sent samples to his brother, Theo. Theo wasn't impressed with his brother's work and believed that he could do better. After several trial and errors, he was pleased with his final piece. However, viewers thought it was too dark and had too many mistakes. Go continued to add details to his piece with a small paintbrush even after completion. He was shot down by Anton van Rampard and many others. Funny enough, it is now one of his most famous works. Why this piece? Go is one of my favorite artists, and I wanted to choose a piece that no one else would pick. Not to mention, this was his first masterpiece and the only group portrait he ever made. Nonetheless, I believe I will be the only person to pick this work because it isn't visually appealing to most. On first glance, you feel depressed and weirded out by it. I'm sure other people will pick pieces with a happier feeling and brighter colors because they attract viewers easier. Also, I chose this piece because I believe that not all art is beautiful. Sometimes we need to take in what the artist is trying to tell us, even if the visual aspects of it aren't very pleasant. And here are my sources.